I think it's pretty safe to say that by far the true face of the Star Wars franchise has got to be Anakin Skywalker. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, what's really exciting is that we are now just 133 days away from the official release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker by director J.J. Abrams. That is all sitting ready to end the sequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga itself. That's really going to make us view the past 8 Star Wars movies in a different light, which I always say could very well be a bad or a good thing. It depends on how everything is going to be utilized and really executed on the big screen. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for Episode 9. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this is that a description of Rey traveling into the Lost City, where it's explained that she is in search for ancient Jedi and Sith lore, where it's explained that she eventually reaches a place called the Land of Warriors, a place full of ancient Jedi and Sith statues and ruins. It's said that at one point in time, Rey comes across a statue of Anakin Skywalker that was built during the Clone Wars. It's said that below the statue lists Anakin's name under his alias that he used during the Clone Wars, where he went by the name of Cade Sky. That is said to be JJ's way of throwing in a nod to Cade Skywalker from the expanded universe. It's said that the reason Anakin went by the name of Cade Sky during the Clone Wars was to stay under the radar during a vital mission with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Anakin will go by this name in the upcoming Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7, which is due for release in 2020. It's said that some of Anakin's enemies that will be unveiled in the new season will only see him as Cade Sky, and that Episode 9 will reference this even before Season 7 drops next year by Dave Filoni. It's said that Anakin got the idea of using this name after seeing a vision of a terrible future that will also be explained in the upcoming series. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and why I think this is a fascinating callback and or a little Easter egg or nod, if you will, by JJ to the Star Wars Legacy comics. Now, in case you guys did not know, in the Legends material, one of the descendants of Luke and Anakin were, of course, Cade Skywalker. Now, this is a very interesting thing, is because, well, Anakin went by the name of Cade Sky. Now, this is, of course, a reference to the character of Cade Skywalker that Anakin used during the Clone Wars, and this is actually said to be printed on his statue in the Lost City that Rey discovers, the statue of Anakin Skywalker that was built during the Clone Wars. Now, we do know that the Lost City is a massive location underneath the surface of an unknown world that actually holds a lot of ancient Jedi and Sith ruins and statues, lore, such as artifacts and relics, you name it. So what I find so impressive about this is that this shows just how much J.J. Abrams really is paying attention to the Star Wars expanded universe and how he's trying to somewhat borrow elements of it and somehow keeping it alive to a certain extent in Episode 9. And this is also going to be explored in the Clone Wars Season 7, which is very intriguing because that's actually going to be out next year in 2020. So on top of all of this, we do know that Anakin Skywalker now has a secret identity during the events of the Clone Wars, and that even some of his enemies only saw him as Cade Sky. So the name Cade Sky, obviously, it's not based on a real character within canon. Like I say, it's a nod to Cade Skywalker. Now, the Lost City, a lot of fans have always been wondering exactly how the statues are built. In case you guys did not know, for the Sith location, they're called Sith Renovators. For the Jedi location, they are called Force Protectors. And what I like about that is that these creatures that kept these structures alive, as well as building these statues from the ground up, it really shows us how important the Star Wars galaxy really is. Now, we do know that, yes, the Wills are going to play somewhat of a role in Episode 9. They are the godlike beings that watch over the entire universe. They basically created the galaxy, they control the universe, and they even are the ones responsible for essentially picking certain chosen ones or choosing one's destiny in the Star Wars franchise. And that, to me, is a very impressive, thing in the Star Wars franchise itself that was created by George, that is going to be explored by J.J. Abrams to a certain level in Episode 9. And the last thing I really want to touch on here is, of course, the character of Anakin. By far, the biggest character, or at least one of the biggest characters in the Star Wars franchise, without a doubt, and it seems like that this is a great way to really pay homage to the character and to learn a little bit more about his backstory, certain places, you know, in between the events of, you know, the Clone Wars, you know, and of course, you know, Revenge of the Sith and stuff around those lines, how we're going to be exploring different elements of that. I like that. The fact that they gave him the name of Cade Sky and he went under a secret identity for certain missions with Obi-Wan Kenobi in order to stay under the radar, and even some of his own enemies didn't even know he was called Anakin Skywalker. To me, that's very intriguing. I like where they're going with this, with Episode 9, how they're using it as a way to not just tie stuff into the new trilogy, but to also tie stuff into the upcoming Clone Wars Season 7, which are actually pre-Easter eggs, if you will. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.